Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi. Today, let's talk a little China. Xi Jinping seems to be in a little bit of a dilemma. Question is, will he start a war? Personally, I don't think so. But let's see what General Prabdeep Singh, who's back on the channel after a while, has to say about the situation and the mindset of Xi Jinping. There are multiple options in front of him, and we are, of course, one of his options. So let's try and understand kya karega Xi Jinping. What will he do going forward? So, namaskar, sir. Welcome to the show.
Namaskar, and thank you very much to have me back again. And we're talking China. Yes, a very important and very interesting topic. And uh, I think most of us who follow geopolitics keep wondering as to what is Xi Jinping up to, and which is going to be the next trouble spot. We've seen what's happening in Ukraine. We've seen what's happening in Israel and Gaza, and we keep wondering as to what is the next place that a location or geographical location where uh, another trouble would kind of erupt. And what are the options with China? And why would he do it? At the moment, when you look at it, we've seen Xi Jinping is kind of frustrated. That's the word my friend Aadi used, and which is true. He is definitely frustrated. We've seen all the purges which have taken place. We've seen disappearances of the defense ministers, etc. So when you look at all this and the corruption which is so rampant and it is being dealt with a iron hand, and then of course you have cars being rammed in on the gates of his uh, resistance. So you find that there is a frustration with with the uh, the premier Xi Jinping. We've also seen the frustration with the locals, which is taking place. I mean, when you start dealing with an iron fist or an iron hand and start making people disappear, there's got to be discontent in the entire party, and that is precisely what is happening. So when you look at what happened in the the recent National Congress meet which took place, and of course the planned plenum which was supposed to have taken place has not taken. The plenary which was planned hasn't been held. So when you see all this, we keep wondering what is China up to. We look at the
That's a big thing,
we,
yes,
we
sir.
we look at the economic situation and we see the defense spending is up. It's at 7.2%, where the GDP is down to about 5%. And in the past 11 years, since Xi Jinping has been in power, the military spending has doubled. Now, when you look at all this, where are they heading? Of course, they're looking at being completely modernized by 2035. And that's their goal. And of course, to be a superpower, the leading superpower by 2050. So if you're looking at this, I would just want to argue the basic premise and the basic premise at which China is at the most at the moment kind of struggling is energy. And we all understand it. It's nothing new. And I'm just saying, when it comes to energy, so you've got the choke points in the Indian Ocean region. So you've got India, which is kind of, confident of choking the three choke points: Malacca Strait, Sunda, etc. Now, when it comes to the Arctic route is not yet open, and maybe somehow whenever it opens. So what does he have? He has alternatives. He's created alternatives for the energy. You have the CPEC passing through Gwadar, starting from Gwadar, going all the way up through Pakistan, then Pakistan occupied Kashmir, and then through, of course, the area which of Aksai Chin, which is traditionally and rightfully ours. So when you look at all this, so you have CPEC, then you have the Myanmar, you have the CMEC, China Myanmar Economic Corridor, and you have that pipeline and the rail route and road route which is there, right? From currently the pipeline which is existing all the way from Chakfu going up to Kunming. So that's another one. Then you look at, is it trying to bypass the choke points in the Indian Ocean region by cutting across canal through Cambodia, Kampuchea. So you have that. So what I'm coming to is that China today is all about energy, and it is wanting to secure its energy needs, and it finds itself choked at all points, and is trying to take out its frustration on the rest of the world because of this very fact. As far as Taiwan is concerned, we know what's happening in Taiwan. But they've dropped that. Earlier they used to talk of peaceful reunification. They've removed that thing, and they say that by 2027, be ready to go to war. That's what he's uh, told the military. So that means by 2027, he's prepared to go to war. Now, will he go to war with Taiwan? Will he want to go to war with Vietnam? Because Vietnam of late has also been troubling, showing its eyes to the Chinese, to the PLA Navy and the Air Force, etc., at in the Gulf of Tonkin, right? So you have these Taiwan Straits, you have the Gulf of Tonkin, and then of course you have India. Just recollect G20. He wasn't there, and G20 was a big success, and that was something not being favored by the Chinese at all. So then you had so many incidents. We've got regular. We've had those corps commanders meeting taking place as far as Eastern Ladakh is concerned, and nothing constructive is coming out of it.
Hmm.
After all, we want our wherever the Indian Army was patrolling all the way in Chushul and, and the areas which were being patrolled earlier in Demchok, we want them back, and we want to patrol those particular areas, and these are still being blocked. So once these are still being blocked, and these 21 rounds which have taken place have yielded no results, I'm sure there are clear-cut directions from the top man right down to the corps commander who comes for the meetings that not to agree to any of these Indian requests. Why is India a probable area of conflict in the coming future? And that is what is a moot point. We've had this recent article which came about in the,
Rusi.
Rusi.
But that was
Yes,
geographically incorrect. I mean,
whatever. But the fact is that the world is thinking, and it is also
I,
analyzing. It's also talking about. I know it was a very,
I don't
but
know how they let it print there, sir. That was just
yeah,
a
but
little astonishing to me.
yeah, because these are pressure points. When you release an article like this is like putting pressure on India. But what I was coming to is at least the world is thinking in those terms. There are people,
Mm.
geopolitical analysts, who are looking at what is Xi Jinping going to do.
That's an important question today, sir. Before we come to the question of India, sir, I'd like to kind of stick to the South China Sea a little bit. What he's doing with Philippines right now is not getting resolved. When Philippines, Marcos is actually put across a very strong stand कि भैया तू एक कदम आगे नहीं बढ़ेगा. I'm not going to give you 1 inch.
That's
That
right.
is what is being said very clearly. उसने बोला है, and there is no ifs or buts about it. You've also got Vietnam Philippines pact which has happened. You've got the Americans deploying forward into Taiwan, into Kinmen, into Matsui, and front deployment हो रहा है उसका. So he's getting angled in there as well. यहाँ पर भी also he's getting a little frustrated if you noticed his responses which are coming across. Oh, don't put extra troops, don't do this, don't do that, ये वो and all that. one thing I want you to kind of comment about is about his capability today. So with all the news that has come out about his military, with regards to, there was an article in the Bloomberg about water filling. There was, whole thing about the uh, rocket forces, and then generals getting cut off, and this and that. What is he
Yeah.
thinking about his military right now? So that's the big question that I want to ask. How capable do you think he's, thinking his military is? One of his I'll just take 10 seconds more. One of his vice chairman just said, I'm going to purge out fake capabilities.
Now that's a very interesting one, and I'll just tell you very something which is a very when you talk of fake capabilities, uh, what what we learned over a period of time, when you have these joint trainings, it's the same people who come from one joint training to the other joint training to the other joint training.
Hmm.
So he's got specialized troops who are doing only joint training. You're getting what I'm trying to say? Whereas in our case, whenever we send somebody for joint training, we send different units.
Yeah, we rotate.
We rotate, and we don't have a specialized, group which is doing joint training. But in this case, it's the same people who keep doing joint training.
Hmm.
So that is the kind of fake capability I was just trying to tell you about. Now, this particular statement of fake capabilities is something which you got to be, which all of us military analysts should be taking very seriously. Uh, as we know, this entire thing about the PLA is all opaque. There's no transparency. The only transparency which comes out is, which is in the media, which comes out is, which is approved to be released, right, at the highest level. So what you see, all the military parades, all the precision, all that, that is just show of force. But will that same soldier who's there in that military parade will be as hardy and as tough, whether to fight in the South China Sea or whether it's going to fight in high altitude, right? No, that is something that you got to see. So all this while, so friend Xi Jinping also realizes that. He has realized over a period of time that the capability as kind of claimed by his generals is not the actual capability, right? So the rocket forces, the purging which has taken place is basically out of corruption. Now, obviously, if there is corruption, that means there's compromise. There's compromise on quality of production. There's compromise on, wherewithal. Any corruption is always a compromise. So his capabilities, as we visualize, are not exactly the way they are on ground. We've seen soldiers. I mean, let's face facts. Let's face Galvan. We've also seen uh, the soldiers not so hardy today.
Yeah, the Red
He,
Army was different.
that was the difference. He's not as tough. He's not as hardy. He's more of a uh, modern soldier who's more dependent on his mobile. Right? You know what I'm trying to say. They're all soft, what do you call it? Chocolate soldiers, chocolate, right? So they're not that capable. When it comes to the navy part of it, they are of course producing ships by the dozen, and they're aiming to have 5 aircraft carriers and coming up with the aircraft carriers. How well trained their pilots are, that is a question that has always come into everybody's mind. They've practiced a lot on the Liaoning 1 and 2, and what exactly is the capability, we really don't know, because they themselves don't know. I would put it this way, because they are an untried armed force at the moment. They may have faced wars, Vietnam War, this, that, but at the moment, in the modern circumstances, they are an untried army, and they really do not have that kind of wherewithal as is being propagated. So let us see. Let us see as to where it happens.
May I ask a question connected to this a little further, sir? Is about one you've mentioned about the capability, which is very, very interesting, actually, and very correct, of course. The second part would be also about, an army is just not the capability of the soldier and the capability of the weapons. And who am I talking to? A major general? Please excuse me, sir. Don't. As a civilian, I look at an army who is co- full of cohesion. How does a communist army who's basically looking behind his shoulder uh, for his political commissar, and his approval, because he knows once this war gets over, my ACR will be written by this political commissar who will send it to Xi Jinping and who will probably increase or decrease my salary. Uh, in
Yeah.
a battle scenario, sir, with your experience, how do you think an army will react to a situation like that? We've seen terrible, terrible incidents with the Soviet army with the same system.
So this system doesn't work. A and B, if you got to live in fear, today most of the generals of the PLA are in fear because they do not know as to when the sword will, I mean, they've got a sword hanging up on their heads. They don't know when they will go. On what pretext will they go? So if you have generals who are going to be scared and generals who are not able to plan and generals who are not able to execute orders without looking back on their own, they lack the initiative. And if they lack the initiative, well, no wars can be fought very well. Now, when you talk of cohesion, the PLA is widespread. I mean, they've got theaters and specifics which are specific to particular areas. Now, when you have theater specific troops, they are trained for a particular area,
Task.
particular task. But the moment you have to shift,
Interesting point.
the moment you have to shift, they may be coming in, a later on in the battle. But if they have to shift, will they be able to perform? Is a question which I often have asked people. Uh, uh, Soldiers from high altitude areas, WTC going down to this STC, will they be able to do it? Are there adequate troops? Now, what we have seen in the Ukrainian war and or even what's happening in Gaza, the number of troops that you require is huge. Wars are not going to be, wars which will end in a few days. They're going to be wars which are going to be prolonged over a period of time. They're going to consume a lot of troops, and it's not going to be that easy. And anybody who thinks that they're going to depend on tanks and they're going to depend on ships, well, that's not going to happen because these ships will be sunk before they even sail out. Will the I mean, let's take the Taiwanese scenario. It's got to be an amphibious operation, right? If it's got to be an
Mhm.
amphibious operation, so what's the first target of the United States Air Force or the United States Marine Corps or whatever it is? The first target are ships. So you can keep building any amount of ships, but they are easy targets. And if you think you've got the air defense to handle that, well, it's been proven enough in Ukraine
No country has, sir.
that air defense, any amount of air defense that you have is less.
No country has it. Correct.
So so all the ships go down. Then you have the airlift capability. Well, when you have the airlift capability, will you be allowed to land? Won't you be taken on midair? Do you have the wherewithal? So when you look at kind of war game all the scenarios, you will find that an initial foothold may be gained by surprise because you're surprised.
रॉकेट
Or
शॉकेट ये वो कर कुरा के
yeah,
तुमने
you had the
कर लिया कुछ.
you took the initiative, you have the initiative, you landed, you got a foothold on Taiwan, for example. You got on all to the red beaches, whichever the beaches are, and you got a foothold. But subsequently, are you able to maintain that force? Subsequently, are you able to ensure that there are enough boots on ground to progress the operation? So
That's a big
Taiwan
point.
Taiwan is in my opinion is something uh, till now at least they were hoping for a peaceful reunification. That was a better bet. So
Hmm.
they should have stuck on to that particular, you know, mindset rather than thinking of taking it by force in 2027. So, in my opinion, over a period of time, I'm sure they will realize that it's going to be a no-go as far as Taiwan is concerned.
That's interesting. You're saying over a period of time. That means today they still don't think a war will be expensive for them.
They still don't think, because if they thought, they won't be doing what they are doing.
How stupid.
You see, at the moment they are in that gray zone warfare. They're sticking on to the gray zone warfare. They're looking at cyber attacks. They're looking at, flying aircraft all over the islands, breaching their airspace. Then looking at sending ships for exercises. Then looking at firing over the islands. So this is what वो क्या बोलते हैं, डर पैदा करने वाली बात, trying to scare the daylights out of them. But Taiwan, normal life is going on, man. Each Taiwanese know, any Taiwanese you talk to, he will say, well, we know someday they are going to attempt, but so what? When it
देखी
happens,
जाऊंगी.
we shall see when it happens. And in any case, you see, the Taiwanese have a very different mindset, which again, I'll just tell you, they call something called the silicon shield. You know, just because
The chips are there.
Taiwan chips are there, they believe that because of this particular monopoly in the world, Taiwan will never be attacked. And
That's
this,
a
right? Because they are of the opinion, if Taiwan is attacked, or if Taiwan is allowed to be attacked, and if there is a shortage of chips in the entire world, the world economy will collapse. Now, this has been understood. This has been understood after 2021, after what happened to the automobile industry. And automobile industry landed up losing $210 billion of
yeah,
business.
yeah.
So when you lose that kind of business, but just in one industry, you can imagine what's going to happen in the rest of the world when all the Intel and Apple and everything goes for a six. So this realization of over dependency on Taiwan by the rest of the world is also going down. So what's happening? China is also looking at creating a parallel semiconductor industry. So is India.
Everybody's trying to do it. Yeah.
So is India.
Hmm.
Now, so is the United States, Silicon Valley and all that. Everybody's got into that race. Yeah, you might as well Atmanirbharta at all levels in every country. That thought of Atmanirbharta has, got into
Gone to India.
everybody's head.
Yeah. Yeah.
India thought of Atmanirbharta before the Ukrainian war, but today Atmanirbharta seems to be the key, buzzword as far as the entire world is concerned, because
हर
everybody
कोई इसके
realized you
बाजू में.
can't depend on the others.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I was coming to is the silicon shield is something that has been protecting Taiwan till date.
Hmm.
And there are a whole lot of Taiwanese who have been poached by the Chinese at about 3 times their salary
Yeah.
to work in mainland China. And they have gone. Now, the beauty of the whole thing is, the beauty of the entire aspect and the entire exercise is that while Taiwan, whether through this poaching or whether it is through alliances like what has happened in India, where we are also going to get 3 semiconductor fabs, whether it is Dholera or the 2 in Gujarat and one is somewhere where. So we're
Two,
getting 3 of them.
two in Gujarat, one in Assam,
One
and
in
one
Assam,
more.
yeah,
One
in
more has
Moregaon.
just been announced in Chennai. It's a research center plus a 6G.
Yeah.
This thing.
So you got Moregaon and you got Dholera and you got one more in Gujarat, right? So the Taiwanese are not going to give you the, the advanced technology. They will help
Obviously
you
not.
set up. They will help you set up the basic semiconductor facilities. Thereafter, you can improve on your own.
Mass
And they're
use
very,
जो होता है. Hmm.
so they are very clear on this,
Yeah, yeah.
so that the dependency doesn't go. So, so the silicon shield, what I was coming to is, over a period of time, in the next couple of years, this shield will kind of,
Wither
you
away.
know, wither away. And that is the time when the importance of Taiwan falls in the eyes of the world, whether the United States, whether it's China. And that is the time that the reunification by force will happen.
Will China survive till then, sir? Because I'm not talking about a conspiracy theory. I'm talking about their age, which is, I mean, reducing really fast. Their latest figures have again shown a downfall. Their economy, which I don't know how they are talking about 7%. I don't trust their numbers. That's very well known.
No, no,
But
that of course we never trusted them. 7.2 is
what
the defense.
yeah, I mean, whatever it is. But they are still spending a huge amount on their defense. They want to create the fourth aircraft carrier now, and this and that and the other. I don't know. The three have not been put into use. They want to make a fourth one. Uh, Third point, I mean, is about, see, they've put in a lot of money in a lot of places. They've invested a lot of money in a lot of places. And whatever said and done, sir, up when you invest something, like you've invested $100 on an SIP or a share or a stock market somewhere, 3 years down the line, you want 110, 120, 130, 140 back, whatever. None of his investments are giving him money back. Not one, anywhere.
Dekho, as far as defense industry is concerned, everybody be very clear. It is an investment for your security. It's not
तो
going to give
करता
you,
रहेगा.
yes, it's not going to give you any return. The return is only in terms of national security.
Hmm.
And the more you spend on your national security, the more you are well equipped to improve your economy. The lesser the conflicts, more the deterrence, greater the rise in economy. Plain and simple. Now, that is where China, what did China do? First, it looked at, and every nation should avoid war, avoid
Absolutely.
confrontation, avoid war, avoid confrontation, build up your economic might. And thereafter, once your economic might is secure and you're confident enough, that is the time that you start taking pangas by raising, by spending a hell of a lot on defense. And so it's kind of both ways.
Correct.
Economy and security go both ways, right?
So,
So China has very clear-cut demarcated lines, 2035, complete modernization of the armed forces, 2050, and 2050 is 25 years away. I mean, he's made plans till 2050. And we are questioning his abilities. We are questioning his, survivability, right? Now, this survivability is something that we got to be watching,
hmm.
right? The age factor that you mentioned, the economy that you mentioned, because while they may be on the growth path as far as security, building up the security is concerned, economically they may be going down.
The end of it, it's all out warfare. Yeah, we need to play the war like they play it with us. Simple as that.
So,
Absolutely correct.
while they may be winning on the physical security part of it, they may be losing on the economic security part of it.
I mean, as they say, there's more than one way to skin a cat. So, yeah, you're
Yes. So
absolutely correct.
they no, when you look at sanctions, Russia was able to survive, has kind of survived the sanctions. Will China be able to survive the
पर
sanctions?
यहाँ
If
टिकटॉक बंद होता है तो रोता है वो क्या sanctions
uh,
में.
so that's what I'm saying. So you don't have to wage a military war. You don't have to you have to just wage an economic war.
Yeah. Let's come to that point. So now, since you say that the target is India, what do you think should be our deterrence? And we've been taking certain actions. Election time seems to be a little vulnerable. And I've covered this on the channel. We've got exercises happening all around the place. You're you're positioning yourself so the troops apne aur dale. I'm sure more deployment would be happening. This, that, a lot of stuff would be there. What is the deterrence that India should create? To kind of ensure that the message is very clear to the Chinese. दर्द होएगा भाई, दर्द हमको भी होगा. We will also take a bad hit, and so will you.
You
So
see,
our bad hit may be bad, but you will lose your position in the world. So, you know,
now again, a confrontation is best avoided. That
जी,
is, we will follow that.
चाणक्य नीति, sir.
Yeah. So Chanakya Niti is what is required. Second is when you talk of deterrence. Uh, Actually, today India's rise, India's acceptance in the world as a growing global power or a regional power. This acceptance is there all over the world. Let's face facts.
Hmm.
We've got stability. We got a stable government. We got a fantastic leader. We've got an external affairs minister who's brilliant. So we got everything right going today.
We need to keep at it.
So when you look at all this, we are able to stand and you know tell the world where they are going wrong. This enough is a deterrence. When you talk of militarily, you're talking about deterrence. Of course, the very fact that if we have moved one battalion up or a brigade up, and it is making news,
I mean, the foreign ministry responded from there, sir.
yes. So if you move one brigade up, 2,500 troops up, and if that is going to make news, well, my friend, we are already at a stage that wherein we are deterring the enemy. So what does it show? It shows that today we are being considered as a formidable opponent. It's no longer 1962. India has grown. The Indian military has become far more superior, far organized. If you think that it's going to be an easy cakewalk, it's not going to be so. On the contrary, when I look at all this, when I look at India rising, when I look at us growing as an economic power, us growing in stature in the geopolitical sphere, China may, as it is, we keep talking about it. China would like to undermine us in
Third,
the rest of the world, in the eyes of the rest of the world, because
in the
today,
eyes of the rest of the world, sir, you said.
yes,
That's gray zone.
that's crazy. So he is not. Uh, it's hurting him. The very fact that this rise is hurting him is a deterrence. B is also giving him kind of nightmares. It may be a little harsh on that, but it is giving them a little trouble.
Which they've written as well. So CSIS and all that are writing about
Yes,
it.
they're writing about it. Now, Pakistan, I'm trying to link this because Pakistan itself is in dire straits. CPEC is not going anywhere. CPEC passes through POK. And the people of POK are revolting against Pakistan. They're already wanting to join India. Gilgit Baltistan, their people voices are being heard.
That
Of
is there.
So when all this is happening, how do you put down India? Start a war.
Very, very interesting point you've said, sir. This is an overall military confrontation plus a political confrontation plus a social
Economic,
confrontation plus a geopolitical confrontation plus a trade plus this plus that plus this plus that. I mean,
everything. It's all across in all the 4 5 pillars. Right? It is so. China is today I mean, we know it hasn't been very effective. When it came up with that lukewarm peace proposal in Ukraine, that copybook, what do you call, chipboard peace plan.
Yeah.
What happened to that? Nix, nothing. Nobody even bloody. He hasn't gone anywhere near. Has he gone anywhere near what's happening in the Gulf of Aden, in the
No.
Red Sea?
No.
China has got its expeditionary force, whatever, 45th, 46th, you know.
Djibouti.
Uh, no, no, no. They have this, they, what do you call it? Uh, they call that maritime. What Anyway, they have a few vessels which are operating in the Gulf of Aden, and they're there for a particular duration, and they do the duration, and the next one comes. So the 45th goes, and the 46th comes. So they've had about how many missions there? I think 1600 odd kind of missions they have carried out within that area, right? But when it comes to joining any coalition to fight against the Houthis, no, they're nowhere near. Why? They don't want to antagonize Iran. After all, I mean, if they are going to be talking, they're going to join that coalition, then they're also, that means they're anti-Iran, and that's what they don't want to. Look, what I was coming to it is the lack of guts and the lack of participation in global affairs. That's also going down. So the stature, as far as geopolitical stature is concerned, that's also kind of dwindling. When it comes to the United Nations, you know what has happened against in the again with the terrorists, listing of terrorists. So what I was coming is, overall their stature is coming down. There are more countries which are against China than for China.
Yeah, that's true.
The trade is at the lowest. They've come down, I think, how many $billion? The Ever since 1994, their trade has come down by God knows how many $billion.
It's
Yeah,
quite bad. And the
yeah,
FDI is fallen, the manufacturing is falling,
it's
so
fallen.
it's
Everything is fallen.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about this task forces, Gulf of Aden. They're called the ETF, the Expeditionary Task Forces,
Sure,
right?
sure.
So 45th has got back and it gets rotated by 46th. So they have this system, they keep moving up and down. So economy has gone down, the trade of the world is going down. So in stature, they've fallen. Now, how does he raise his own stature? India is rising. India's stature rises, his stature coming down. What do? Start a conflict.
Hmm.
Now, start a conflict at a situation at a time when the United States is busy all over the world, when Russia is busy in themselves. You're getting what my point is? So when you relate that to the Rusi article, I think it made a little sense to me, because the timing today, 2024, maybe a preparatory time, 2025, 2026, is the right time for, or 2027, as they've said, get ready for war in 2027. Is it a war they're being ready for Taiwan, or whether it's India? And that is what
That
you got to, that is what you
yeah,
got to be careful about.
point taken, sir. Point taken. Absolutely. And I
USA
think
is, United States is busy.
yeah, yeah.
The ammunition production industries, I mean, the military industrial complex is totally overburdened all over the world. Russia has no position to assist. United States busy. Europe totally embroiled. Country rising India. Country standing aloof China.
That's as a matter of fact, last week I had done this as a talk that the situation around China and its other confrontations is pushing it towards a confrontation with India.
Yeah,
It might just happen. And this is my own thing. I had done a show last week, Friday, I think Friday, Thursday, Friday in the afternoon, where I put this across that this is what I see happening, because I can see these guys antagonizing, and they will also, the so-called, the world powers will say, yeah, and they come and tell India, "Hey, see, China is getting angry at you. You buy this from me, buy this from me."
yeah, that's what they're
MIC,
doing. Yeah,
so
yeah. Now, this is where it comes to. And if you recollect, I when one of the episodes in Ukraine also I'd mentioned this, that India's got to be a little wary of whatever is happening, and must be prepared. And I'm sure that the senior military hierarchy and the diplomats, and as well as the polity, is very much aware of this.
you can
And
see that with the flip happening.
yeah, so they're very much aware of this, and they're working towards it. Because 2027, yeah, prepare for war. Where? Taiwan? Really, no. And these guys are masters of deception. So they'll talk something else and do something else.
Open a frontier, but actually fight there.
Fight there.
Hmm.
So look Tokyo, whatever that thing phrase is.
Yep. Look in London, talk in Tokyo.
ऐसे कुछ है. So that is my take, that India is a very
Absolutely.
probable target, and India must be prepared. And I'm sure things are getting better in our defenses. And of course, we talk about all the dual purposes villages being created all along. If you study and if you see, they've got all these developmental activities all along the
Both
LAC,
sides. Yes, sir.
both sides. We are doing what we can, because we've really ramped up our infrastructure, which is exceptional, uh, which is lying, absolutely untouched for a very
Yeah.
long time. And the thinking was different. Earlier, you thought, why make roads? Why make it difficult for him to come? Yeah, yeah, that's what our thinking was. I mean, why construct roads? Make it difficult for him to come. Now it is make roads so that we are there, and we are there to fight him at the right places.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah,
Let's take some questions, sir. Guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Most importantly, spread to the word about Dev Talks. 172,000 and counting. I think we should be able to hit 175 by the weekend. आपकी कृपा होगी, जोर से लाइक करोगे तो पक्का पहुंच जाएंगे. So please like the video, and guys, if you can, please do contribute towards the Dev Talks efforts. You've got the QR code and PayPal for direct contributions, या फिर आप super stickers और super chats का भी use कर सकते हैं. Let's see what you guys have to say. Mitul Panchalji, thank you so much. He says only successful land sea battle was Normandy.
yeah, World War II, yeah.
I
That
think the
land.
Incheon landings were even. I mean, the Incheon landings were also pretty damn cool.
Yeah, yeah, they were cool. I mean, they were conducted. One of the most difficult operations are amphibious operations, amphibious landing operations.
Gee.
The most intricate ones, and requires a lot of coordination. And Normandy was, of course,
Is it just the distance, or is it the factor of multiple modes of movement that creates the challenge?
no. Amphibious operations is totally different. You see, you got when you integrate the land forces,
With the
then you
sea, with the air.
see with the air,
I
and
figured.
and then you got to have the air support and the RT support. I mean, the fire onto the land. Then you got to have airborne operations, seeking a air landing, capturing an airfield. So, and how do you work? How do you coordinate? That is where it is. How does the air coordinate with the navy? How does the air coordinate with the army? Who's the guy who will be there? There's tremendous amount of coordination. We have this fantastic exercise which we do in our command. uh, it's an eye opener. It's a real eye opener, and we practice this. Of course, the Andaman Brigade and all that. We do that.
True, sir. Nitin Kumarji, thank you so much. He says, didn't USA claim that they will destroy chip factories in Taiwan, in case of an invasion scenario? So how will the Silicon Shield help Taiwan?
So far, it's helping. No,
That's true. Absolutely.
you see, the shield is that you don't come to me because it's effective as long
It's
as you're not
for
coming.
everything.
Yeah. So, and that's how it is.
Yeah.
Once the landing takes place, it's a different story. But till such time the landing takes place, it works as a deterrence. You call it a deterrence, you call it as a shield. So they call it the silicon shield. Yeah.
Going next, Dr. MPC, thank you so much. He says, sir, isn't there MO to debt trap then and bribe their stooges into power, then grab land? How long can South Pacific countries resist them from political takeover like the Maldives?
Yeah, their modus operandi is plain and simple as you just summed it up so beautifully. Now, the only thing is that most of the countries today have got to realize, they started realizing, and there are many countries who are stepping out of BRI. Even countries like Italy is stepped out. I mean, it is openly said, "Thank you very much. I'm not a part of it. I'm not getting into it." Now, when it comes to Pakistan, Pakistan is in need. Pakistan and whatever Gwadar. When it comes to what's happening in Sri Lanka, you've seen Haman Tota. Now, you're looking at DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. There also they have kind of failed, right? So when it comes to another country in
Angola.
Africa,
Angola.
uh, not Angola. There's another one which came about. Uh, this country is also kind of. Wait a minute, I'll just tell you.
Angola is a very clear example. So there were about 200,000 Chinese. Now there are
You
only
see,
20,000 left.
you know what has happened. What they do is actually they make false promises. Now, false promises are like this: we'll create an infrastructure. We will do this for you. We will do this for you. You give us your mining rights, right? Now, so the mining rights are taken by them. We will give you employment. So initially they will employ the locals, and then those people will be replaced by the
Chinese.
Chinese. Now, over a period of time, this realization has already come in, and countries today are not falling into the trap. All those who have fallen into the trap earlier are trying ways and means to wriggle out of it. And that is what is happening.
That's true, sir. Even the Pakistanis seem to be
No, no,
wondering
no.
what the hell do we do?
Pakistanis have got into a big kind of a trap because, you know, a country, a Islamic nation, and pork being sold, not funny.
Beer, they put a beer factory in
Yeah. So,
Gwadar.
yeah. So, pork being sold, not funny. And the Pakistanis went out of the way when the CPEC was initially being talked about. They kind of introduced Mandarin in schools, and that was interesting. They said, the next century, whatever it is, China, yeah, wo, all that. And then when they started getting this, Baluchi started letting them have it, and they didn't know which side to look at. So passing through Balochistan, whatever is happening is not funny. I mean, these guys are not going to let them live.
Yeah, true.
And Gwadar is actually Gadar. You know, yeah.
I mean,
There's
the
a lot
kind
of
of stuff, yeah, that area is dangerous, sir. I discussed
that.
that very extensively on the channel where we talk about ISKP, from ISKP to BLA to TTP to ETIM to
Yes, it's not.
TTP. सारे आ गए यहाँ पर तो.
सब है वहाँ पे, सारे हैं वहाँ पे, and they are in deep shit actually.
Yeah, true, sir. Dr. MPC, once again, thank you so much. He says, sir, if they are exploiting our fault lines by supporting insurgencies, are there any fault lines that we can exploit in their society, polity, and army?
A very good question. They are actually exploiting our fault lines. They have done it in the Northeast, and undoubtedly, unfortunately for us, this is something that we've not been able to penetrate. Of course, efforts are on all the time, I'm sure, but it's kind of difficult. Even our human int, I'm talking about human, very difficult to get human out of
Everybody
Tibet.
finds it very difficult. Yes, sir.
It's very difficult to get it out of Tibet. Not that we don't, but it's a very difficult
Yeah.
proposition. So your concern is very, very valid, and of course efforts are on all the while.
The Wolf, thank you so much. He says China just got frustrated. On one side, it's unable to stop the rise of Bharat and our strength. On the other side, it can't do anything to stop us from becoming a stronger day by day. That's true.
Absolutely. So you create a conflict. So what do you do if you were China? So you create a conflict, even if it's Galwan plus.
Mm.
I'm just saying. I mean, even if it's just a Galwan plus, you will China will get a lot of resistance. Right? India will this thing, and then in the end of it all, you say, okay, you know, let's sort it out diplomatically and things like that. So the only good lesson that they've learned out of this is of Galwan is that don't mess with India, with the Indian soldiers.
So, Mr. Malik Ingeborg Malik. I am not sure how to pronounce that first name, so I'm going to call this Malik साहब ने बोला है कि my gut feeling says criminal Xi Jinping, interesting spelling, shall take on Bharat because economic surge within Bharat. I could be wrong. I think you were spot on target. This is before you brought the thing. I
Yeah,
kept this question so that it just
yeah.
encourages.
You see, economy is something. Any nation which is economically stable will be militarily stable, and and will also be able to diplomatically show its uh, true worth. So, if you hurt a country economically, then you hurt the entire process. So that is
That's
there.
true. That's true, sir. Rahul Lakshman says, is there a chance for the CCP breaking up and multiple parties forming? There's that article that came out, sir, which was written by this former general political commissar Li Yu Yan.
Hmm.
Uh, sorry. He basically he's one of the princelings, which is the opposition, and they did a brazen meeting in Beijing right now with kind of showcasing their strength against Xi Jinping. And he said that China is more suited for a socialist parliamentary democracy. And that article actually got printed in China. I was like, okay, ye kya hua? What do you have to say
No,
to something like that?
you see, actually, it is going to break up sooner or later. That's my complete reading of it. Because gone are the days. Today, it is social media ka zamana. You know, and as long as everybody is exposed to social media through social media to the rest of the world, it's no longer closed. I mean, China or CCP
Yeah.
or whatever you want to call it, it's not a. It cannot be confined to a particular ideology because the social medium which is existing today is exposing those people to the rest of the world. And when you are when you see and you compare yourself where you stand, and that is the time then you start questioning your authority. And
Hmm.
this is precisely what is happening. And this is precise. It may take a while, but I don't think that the days are far away when we will be hearing about a socialist democratic republic kind of a setup. After all, China itself is on the, when we talk of China breaking up, we're looking at a lot of regions breaking up. After all, Tibet is Tibet.
Could I show
And
you a map that I've made, sir?
yeah, sure.
I'm quite fast. I'm quite fast with that. Just give me a second. I don't know if you've seen this one. This is a map that I made of
Yeah,
the future
yeah,
of China.
this is the future of China. Now, when you look at all this, you see, uh, Yunnan gone, Tibet gone, Turkestan gone. So, what is China proper? Is this the Eastern China,
Yeah,
right? Manchurian. And these are all occupied, occupied, occupied. So, whenever you occupy something, there has got to be dissent, and there will always be kind of you know breakaway forces working within these areas. So that's how it is. So let us see when it happens, but it will happen.
so
I
this
was very, sorry, the other day I heard someone say that we should stop referring to our border with China as Indo-China border. It should be referred to as Indo-Tibet border.
started, sir, already.
Yeah. So we do not have a border with China. We may
Yeah,
have it
we
in the
know.
east, right? Not we don't have it in the east.
We don't, sir.
Uh,
We
we
don't.
don't have any border. It is a border with Tibet, and that's about it.
Absolutely.
And that is what we should start talking about. And the moment we start, it's a Tibet. I mean, we have got borders with Tibet. You guys have occupied Tibet, but we've got a border with Tibet, not with China.
Absolutely. Absolutely correct, sir. I mean, there was this somebody who had written this Chinese, one of these ambassadors to one of these African nations, that निजर के पास जब ये कचरा हुआ था, he had written, oh, this is influence in this and that and ये वो. We would never do something like that. People got after him. And yesterday with the Chinese ambassador in Maldives,
Hmm.
oh, Maldives, man, they let her have it pretty badly. The people are very upset. So I've got certain tweets which I will, I mean, showcase when I do my update on Maldives. They let her have it, sir. She said happy
What is?
Ramadan and all that. People said, what are you giving us wishes? Go give in your country. So,
Hmm.
okay. This is the first Muslim country that I've seen pushing back China on its treatment of Uyghurs.
No,
So
that 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 is something. Actually, the iron hand and all that doesn't work. Huh? Whatever you may try, will work to some extent, but not to that degree that you think that you can rule. It has never worked.
only to a certain extent, sir. After that, it breaks. Yeah, that's the Cyberpunk says attempt to spook Bharat into taking clear sides, then failed attempt of Russia China unlimited partnership nonsense.
Attempt to spook Bharat into taking clear sides. Like, yeah, in India, not, in India is something we as Indians got to understand first. We are not going to take sides, plain and simple. And I made the statement many a times. We are there where our national interests are protected, where our national interests are enhanced. We are not playing any politics. We are not siding any bloc or any particular country. We are friends with all, and we are friends with all on issues which are morally and ethically correct, and that is our strength. If we
Mutual
take
interest,
sides
yes,
with
sir.
it, if we take sides with the United States, we are sides. We are close to the United States. We are close to Russia, and these are all issue based. And wherever the issue is right or wrong, we will always take the right path.
True, sir. Jay says there's a question where Russia will support Chinese military action bracket sanction. They accept Mr. 10. I'm not sure, Mr. 10, 11.
Putin. Mm.
uh, aren't sure about it, and energy requirements in case of a war remains a hindrance, unlike Russia in a war with Ukraine. One of the biggest things I'll add to this is that the Russians and the Chinese have been trying to build that pipeline. And today, again, there was a report that came out, boss, there's a massive delay now because they've not been able to come up and, kind of agree on the calculations only.
You see, again, you got to see uh, China. China is wanting to downplay Russia at every forum, at every instance. But it's not going to happen. Russia is a huge, huge country and a powerful nation, and Russia is proving it to be right.
Yeah,
And if Russia today, it's what is the difference? Landmass, Russia has got more, right? Military, tried out military capability, whether it was whether it was World War II, whether it is today, Russia, right? As
true.
far as military capability is
Amongst
concerned.
the large powers, absolutely agreed, sir.
Yes. So China is only ahead of them economically for whatever reason because of the sudden, whatever happened in the late 90s and early 20s, and they rose to whatever they are today. And that's and they worked on where on a particular path, whereas USSR, kind of cracked, and Russia is there. So there's no comparison actually. And China is running around for energy. Russia has not been affected by sanctions. What will happen if the sanctions are put on China? We discussed this, right? China can be just choked straight away. You just stop the energy pipelines. You just stop supplying energy resources to China, and there goes China. So it's China and Russia are different stories. Yeah.
That's a very interesting. I mean, you
मैं
gave me
कहता
a
हूँ खाली आपको कुछ नहीं करना है, आपको कुछ नहीं करना है, ऑयल सप्लाई बंद कर दो
gave me a thought because
चारों
the
तरफ से.
Russians are not very happy right now. They've not been able to get their payments from China. Whatever payments that the Russians made to the Chinese for goods and all that, the Chinese returned it back saying, no, 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 we can't and all that. We're getting sanctioned. So there's been a little bit of a clash there. After that, the Chinese removed that oil thing, but all that will not accept until unless it's a little more substantial, as what you're saying.
China has not come to Russia's assistance at all in the Ukraine war.
Yeah, yeah.
No, the West keeps talking about,
Ah, oh,
arms being supplied, not arms being supplied. If some, after all, the West is also taking, parts and semiconductors, or I mean, semiconductors for Taiwan, but I'm talking about, something or the other is coming from China. It's being imported, and that is being used in their weaponry. Everything is not
mm,
indigenous. So if
mm.
Russia has also taken some parts out of it, so what's the big deal? So this kind of a mismatch is there.
Last couple, sir. General sir, what could it be that Xi Jinping knows that he cannot afford war? Yes, he's showing false bravado for internal politics to show that he will deliver. Sorry.
On the contrary, Baltraji, it's the other way around. He's not. He will have to show false bravado to prove himself. He will have to do some actions to prove himself. If he knows he cannot afford to order, but उसको कुछ तो कुछ करना पड़ेगा. If he has to retain power, he has to do something to show his might. He has to become Putin. Today, unfortunately, is nowhere near Putin.
No way, sir. I mean, sir, Putin, that interview with Tucker Carlson, bloody
Hmm.
hell.
Yeah, he laid it bloody flat.
2 hours,
Plenty.
45 minutes straight,
Yeah.
40 minutes of a bloody history lesson. I
Mm.
don't think one leader in the West can come out and do something like that.
Obviously, the guy knows his facts. Yeah.
It's only we Asians
Conviction.
who can talk like that, sir. ये वेस्टर्न में इतना दम नहीं है. हिल
Courage of
जाते हैं थोड़े
conviction.
टाइम के बाद. थोड़े टाइम के
थोड़ी देर
बाद.
थोड़ी देर के बाद सब हिल जाते हैं.
हमारे ही है सर. अब यहाँ पर वेस्ट में ग्रेट स्पीकर्स जॉन मर्शहाइमर. व्हाई? बिकॉज ही कैन स्पीक फॉर 45 मिनट्स इन अ सिंगल शॉट.
So can I. If that be the case.
ऑल पीपल यहाँ पर तो सर सड़क पे मिलते हैं बंदे बात करेंगे लेक्चर देने में तो.
हमको भी तूने सड़क से
I mean,
उठाया लगता है. But
नहीं नहीं, I
the,
mean, I'm just saying the kind of
हाँ,
caliber that you're talking about, in these
yeah,
civilizational paths.
yeah. We are. You pick up what you rightly said. You pick up a guy from our village.
That's what I'm saying, sir.
He will talk in pure Shuddh Hindi, and he will give you a life lesson which you have never even heard before.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
We've got such. I'm talking about core Indian village where they listen to the
Hmm,
news.
hmm, hmm.
He will give you his opinion in clear cut terms.
I mean, I was so surprised, sir. Just deviating into local politics, when this whole thing happened, this so-called farmers' protest, they took one my guy to one chap in Haryana. Oldest chap. कहता 100 दे बंदे
Hmm.
हैं. ये देखो,
Yeah, yeah.
the damn thing reached there, and the guy knows George Soros.
हाँ
ये
हाँ
वहां से पैसा आया इनके पास. तो सीधा
सबको मालूम है. They know it. They discuss
सीधा
politics. When there's
it's
this, they discuss politics, international politics.
yeah,
And earlier they used to be listening to the BBC, glued up to the BBC radio. And today they're looking glued up to the television, and
and
they're
YouTube,
looking
sir.
and YouTube. Everybody is well versed. Yeah.
Yeah,
Today,
yeah.
Indian public is well educated. No,
That's what I'm saying, sir. My point
no,
was just
no,
that.
no. If you're talking about us,
Hmm.
I'm saying the same kind of awareness is there amongst the Chinese. Howsoever you may want to suppress, but the local Chinese is today
Yeah,
exposed to all this.
the rural
And
guy,
when he's
especially, yes.
exposed to all this, he's
Hmm.
looking inwards also as to where they are faltering as a nation. So
That's
that,
true.
that CCP collapse kind of slowly and slowly is what we're looking at.
That's true. That's true. That's true, sir. The rural guy might be really aware of what is happening because he's not
Yes.
over bombarded by propaganda, sir. And the last one we'll take for the evening is, how do you see the joint drills between China, Iran, Russia in the Gulf of Oman? Is Israel vulnerable, or is this to ease Houthi attacks since Iran is also involved?
Yeah, I think this is more to ease the Houthi attacks because nobody wants any of these areas. Uh, it's all economics again. You don't want your oil to get hindered. You don't want your trade to suffer. So what do? You do this, and you're also prompted by the rest of the world to kind of you put under pressure to do something, and this is what they're going to do, ensure that look, this is what we are doing, and we're ensuring that there's no attack because we are there at that particular time. And it's all about trade. It's all about trade because any
Yeah.
trade, what happens in Red Sea affects China most, for that matter. It affects Iran because of the oil which has to flow out. So all this is kind of connected to trade, and their presence is important, and that their presence will reduce these attacks. Yeah.
Sir, thanks so much. I think we've had a wonderful discussion. The kind of comments and stuff like that were coming across very realistic, and I think the questions that we also answered, very very realistic stuff that people have asked. Uh, this whole changing world order, as we keep talking about, it's going to affect our futures and make some countries very happy and some countries very frustrated, as you very
Yes.
rightly brought out. Thank you so much, sir, for this time, and we shall see you back very soon. Thank you so much. Jai Hind, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, viewers.